First we're going to start with arm circles for the warm-up. So you want to stand with your feet about shoulder width apart. Nice straight back. Shoulders down and back, and you're just going to want to rotate your arms forward, sort of like you're doing a front stroke. Then after about 12 or so rotations, you're going to go backwards the other way, kind of like you're doing a backstroke. So this is helping to warm up the upper body, the shoulders, get the blood flowing. Next for the warm-up, you can do some sun salutations. So you're going to start by doing a bit of a back extension, folding forward at the hips, getting into high plank, slowly lowering down into chaturanga, and then up dog, and pressing back into down dog. So you want to press your heels down to the mat, and pop back up, and do it again. So folding at the hips, stepping back into high plank, slowly lowering, doing a little bit of back extension there, pushing up on your hands into up dog, and getting those heels down to the mat in down dog, stepping back up again. This is going to help get the heart rate up a little bit because you're doing it quite quickly. You want to have your back nice and straight too when you're going into down dog with your hands pressing into the mat. Next we're going to do some leg swings, so you want to be against a wall for this. So you're basically just swinging your leg forward at the hip, trying to keep a nice straight back, and the leg that you're standing on is nice and straight. So most of this should be coming from the glute and also your abdominals. Kick one leg out in front and then switch sides. You can do between 6 to 10 repetitions. And then we're going to swing the leg out in front. So again, steadying yourself on a wall, and you're just lifting up from the hip, extending up, and bringing your foot in front of you. It's a nice controlled movement. Don't let your leg flail too much. So we're going to do a side lunge with a stretch. So you want to go step down with your right leg first and using the left hand stretching it up overhead, so you should be feeling that stretch down the left side of your body. Again, this is a good way to get the heart rate up. Also warm up the body to prepare it for exercise. When you're stepping forward, you want to make sure your knee's at a 90-degree angle. Your chest is down and up. Back is nice and straight. Your feet are about hip width apart, so you can steady yourself. So you want to make sure you get each side about 8 to 10 times. A little less challenging, you can put your hand on your hip, or you can have it down by your side, relying more on stability and balance. Last warm-up set we're going to do is side lunge with a weight. You want to big step out to the side and push your butt back behind you as you bend your knee down. You don't need to go too far in this movement, and just holding a light dumbbell in front. So your back is nice and straight when you're going down, and pressing the dumbbell out in front of you. Make sure your core is engaged as well. Don't rely on your back to hold you up. You want to make sure your core muscles are working. So into the main workout now, starting with goblet squat. So you want to stand with your feet just about shoulder width apart, maybe just open slightly wider, toes pointed outwards, just slightly. And you want to be pushing your butt back behind you as you're going down and pressing up through your heels and making sure you're squeezing your butt at the top. So you can see I'm kind of pressing out slightly. So holding a weight at your chest. And you can do this without a weight if you're a beginner. Make sure your back is nice and straight, shoulders down and back, and your head is neutral so you're not looking up or down too far. I'm going into a lunge with a twist, so nice big step forward, knee at about 90 degrees. The dumbbell overhead and twisting to the opposite side. So whatever leg you step out with, you want to twist to that side. So if you have any lower back problems, don't do the twist. You can just step down and bring the dumbbell back overhead. This is great for stability and obviously works the glutes and the quads, all muscles that you use for running technical trails. Still working on the lower body, so this is a glute bridge with a hip thrust. So basically lying flat on your back, heels on the floor, toes pointed up, and then you're just basically pressing up, just squeezing your butt. So that's the only thing that you want to be working in this movement. So basically your hamstrings and your glutes. You want to make it a little bit more challenging, you can hold a weight just over your hips. Use a dumbbell or a weight plate. If you don't have a weight, you can just use one leg, so just stacking that ankle over your knee. Again, just making sure your head is in contact with the floor, your shoulders are in contact with the floor, and your heels. So you're pushing up with your glutes. We did this in the warm-up, but this is a great exercise for trail runners, especially when you're trying to work up or down technical trails. So this is a lateral lunge. It's kind of a movement that we do when we're running. So this is going to strengthen the muscles on the outside of the leg. So lateral side. So you can use a heavier weight if you want, or just stick with the same one. I would do this movement a little bit slower than you did in the warm-up, just focusing on getting your butt down and back as far as it can go and pushing up through the heel. I'm going to do this about 8 to 12 times for your main workout. Going to the upper body, so we're going to do a push-up. So you want to place your hands directly under your shoulders. If you're a beginner, you can go from the knees like this, making sure your back's nice and straight, head in neutral position. If you want to make it a little bit more challenging, you can cross your feet and lift them up slightly. This puts a little bit more weight on your chest. Or you can do a regular push-up, so in a nice plank pose. Your hands are just under your shoulders, chest drops to the ground. You should be feeling this in your pectoral muscles, a little bit in your triceps. Next workout is going to be a dumbbell bent over row. So you can do this standing up like this. So you want to push your butt back behind you so your back's nice and straight, head and spine is neutral, and just rowing those dumbbells up to your chest. So they don't need to go too far past 90 degrees. Another position you can be in if that hurts your back is resting one hand on your knee just to keep a balance, but again, you must have a nice straight back. Pulling the dumbbell up to your chest If you have a bench, you can also use that by resting one knee and one hand on the bench, one leg on the ground. It's a little bit easier on your back if you use a bench. The next one is a side plank, so this is working your core. But basically you want to stack your feet and roll up into your forearm and elbow. You can make it a little bit more challenging and work the thighs. You can try and do some leg lifts like this, so keeping nice and steady. And try and hold for about 30 seconds to a minute if you can. And then into the donkey kick. So you can do this by being on all fours, so knees and hands directly under your shoulders. You're basically pushing your foot back behind you like you were kicking a wall. So this is working your core as well, because you want to keep nice and steady as your foot lifts up. And you might want to drop your hip on the leg that you're moving a little bit to keep that nice straight line on your back. You might notice it arches up a little bit, so you want to make sure you're pushing that hip down. So this is really working the glute. If you're going to make it a little bit more challenging, you can do the yoga variation. So getting into a down dog pose, bringing that knee to your chest and pushing it back and behind you. As you're pushing back, you're going forward, bring your head down. Again, having a nice straight back. Trying not to tilt your hip up too much. You want to keep your hips nice and straight if you can while you're doing this. This is working your hamstrings and your glutes and your core, and also your shoulders. And for the last exercise is Superman. So coming onto your knees and your hands, and extending your arm, trying to get it above your ear and pushing your leg back behind you on the opposite side. Again, dropping that hip if you need to stay steady. This is a core workout.